So today's story time is about perhaps the angriest kids who have ever existed, and when I say that, I'm not kidding. Well, maybe I'm exaggerating just a little bit, but this video is an entire saga, with multiple interesting events taking place, including this kid getting angry over a math question and attacking his teammate in phys ed. Certainly is an entertaining story, and I'm not going to leave you guys waiting any longer, so let's begin the story time. Okay, so this story was sent in to me by a subscriber, and the subscriber, I'm going to name him Samuel for the story. Now, throughout his school days, Samuel's friend group was a mix of the nerds and the class clowns, which is going to be important later on, and apparently Samuel was one of the smarter ones in the group. Now, my first question is how in the world are the nerds and the class clowns in the same friend group? Bro's really out here trying to convince me that these two groups are somehow besties. Yeah, I don't really buy that. Anyways, so the first part of the story happens when Samuel was in 4th grade. Now, when Samuel was in 4th grade, there was a new kid in his class who I'm gonna call Kyle for the story. Now, according to the subscriber, Kyle was not exactly the most normal kid. Now, when you hear me say that, you might think that Kyle may have some sort of disability, which is why the subscriber does not consider him quote unquote normal. However, what was actually the case was that Kyle had some really bad anger issues. And these weren't exactly regular anger issues either. Like this kid would apparently freak out at the littlest things imaginable. Like it's actually insane. Yeah, we all get angry about things. I used to get angry quite a bit when I was younger. Sometimes I still do. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. But the difference with somebody like me versus somebody like Kyle is that I only ever get angry about things that actually matter or just really, really upset me in general. Point is, I don't get furious over math questions. So the first incident in our little saga today happened when these guys were in 4th grade, and basically what happened, or should I say would keep happening, is that if Kyle would get a math question such as 49 times 2 wrong, for example, you know what he'd do? This kid would apparently, over a math question by the way, he would slam his head repeatedly on his desk, which you should just never do. Like, you could injure yourself, you could get a concussion. Like, just do not do it. I've had 2 concussions, okay? I know what they're like. They're not fun. You seriously do not want to get a concussion. Like, I can't stress that enough. Anyways, so one other thing to note is that he would apparently open his desk and slam it onto himself. Apparently at their school, they use desks instead of lockers, which I wouldn't exactly say I'm used to. First, we had cubbies in elementary school, and then in high school, we got lockers. I've never really used a desk to like store my backpack or anything, so that must be like a massive desk or something. But yeah, slamming the desk onto yourself is pretty stupid, you know? You shouldn't do that as you could really, really hurt yourself, which is not good. Okay, so throughout the rest of that year, Samuel and his friends felt bad for Kyle. They understood that he had some issues and they even tried to befriend him. Now, I get the intention, you know? You want to be nice to the kid because you're a good person and you feel bad for him. I completely get it. However, I would say that the smart move would be just not to do that and just try to stay away from him. And that may sound a little mean. And sure, if it was a kid that was maybe just perceived as a little bit weird, I would not be against trying to make friends with them because you feel bad. However, in this particular situation with Kyle, you just don't want to be on the radar of the kid with severe anger issues because who knows what he'll do. If you accidentally say one tiny thing that he doesn't like, he might just come around and attack you. Look, again, I'm not against trying to make friends with the social outcast because you feel bad, but in this particular situation, like, I really don't think it's a smart idea. Anyways, so surprise, surprise, Kyle doesn't like the fact that these kids are trying to befriend him. In fact, he started hating them for it. I mean, it's the kid with really bad anger issues. Like, what do you honestly expect? I get you're trying to be nice, but is this really a surprise at all? The message didn't say anything about Kyle attacking them or anything, and I would assume that if he did, it would have been in the DM, so at least Kyle didn't actually do anything to them. The subscriber did say in the message that he didn't really know why Kyle hated him, and honestly, it's the kid with anger issues. They'll probably find a reason to hate anyone. So the story takes a bit of a turn here when Samuel and Kyle's math teacher decides to make a new seating chart for their class, which is something that happens sometimes in school, and she puts those two right next to each other. Now, I gotta feel a little bad for Samuel here, you know, the kid with anger issues you tried to befriend who hates you for no reason is now sitting right next to you for the rest of the school year, probably. And that's gotta suck quite a bit, that's kind of a big L. However, despite that, Samuel still tries to be nice to Kyle, which honestly here I gotta give him props for. Like before, you were unnecessarily interacting with this kid, but now you don't really got a choice. I mean, you're sitting next to him for probably the rest of the school year. You just have to interact with them. That's just the reality at this point. So I give you major props for at least trying to make the experience of sitting next to Kyle as positive or least negative as humanly possible, even though he kind of already hates you. Now, Kyle didn't exactly click with math very well. Wasn't his strongest subject. Now, we already knew that from the first incident in the story, but I mean, I get it. Like, we all have different subjects that we're good and bad at. For example, I'm actually pretty good at math. I'd say it's my strongest out of the main subjects in school, but man, am I bad at English. I'm absolutely horrible in English. I'm just not good at it at all. Point is, we all have subjects that we're good at, like math for me, and then we all have subjects that we kind of suck at, like math for Kyle or English for me. Anyway, so Samuel is trying to help Kyle with the math just to be nice, and Kyle appeared to actually be starting to understand one of the problems. However, he does end up getting it wrong, which, you win some, you lose some. If you get a question wrong, it's not the end of the world as long as you learn from that mistake and hopefully improve in the future. Now Samuel was still trying to help Kyle, so he was trying to explain to him where he went wrong and just trying to help him out. But Kyle, instead of trying to learn the math problem like a normal person, starts yelling really loud at Samuel and apparently even gets a bit physical. And I mean, you should not be getting physical over someone trying to help you with a math problem. Dude, Samuel's trying to be nice and teach you the problem. He doesn't have to do that. He's just doing that because he's nice. So I don't really understand why you're getting so mad at him, but what do I know? Alright, so Kyle eventually goes up to the whiteboard to show his work, which, if you're not understanding it, I feel like it's kind of just setting yourself up to fail. And what do you know? He gets it wrong yet again. And instead of just admitting that he got it wrong, taking the L, and just sitting right back down at his desk, Kyle's probably thinking no, 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 I can't be wrong. I have to be right. I always have to be right. Because he starts throwing a temper tantrum and begins hitting himself. Now, obviously, this is stupid for a lot of reasons, many of which I said earlier in the video, but yeah, he could hurt himself. You don't want to do that. But this is also just really embarrassing too. I'd be extremely embarrassed if I threw a temper tantrum like that in class. I don't even understand why anyone would do that. It just looks really, really bad for you. Apparently, moments like that happened all throughout the year, which is just kind of crazy. I'm shocked this kid hasn't been expelled yet. Anyways, so that concludes the 4th grade chapter of this story time. Moving into the 2nd chapter of the story in 5th grade, Kyle still wasn't much better. He still hated Samuel and his friend group for no real reason. Now, admittedly, when you're in 5th grade, or grade 5 as it's called here in Canada, you tend to not make the smartest decisions. It's around that age where kids just start to make some stupid choices, or just not think properly, and in 5th grade, Samuel and his friends decided to start kind of trolling Kyle, which they thought was funny. I did mention at the start of the video that his friend group was the nerds and the class clowns, and that it would be important later on. This is later on. Now, the subscriber admits to me that maybe it wasn't exactly the smartest idea to mess with Kyle a bit, which, I mean, yeah, not really smart at all. This kid has severe anger issues and already hates you for pretty much no reason from back when you were trying to be nice to him. If you start being a little bit mean, that will give him a little bit of a reason to not like you, and he might actually try to hurt you or something. I get you were trolling the really unlikable kid who nobody really likes, but he might actually do something in retaliation, and then stuff might actually get serious. It's honestly just a recipe for disaster. Okay, so one thing Samuel and his friends would do to Kyle is that they would kind of egg him on in phys ed class. Now, hey, I get it. I like trash talking him playing games too. It's just a pretty fun thing to do, However, this kid threw a temper tantrum over a math question. So I don't think it's a very good idea to be trash talking him in PE class. You may have thought it was funny if he got angry or whatever, but I guarantee you, you will not find it very funny when his anger is directed towards you and he tries to do something. Now, one day in phys ed, Samuel's class was going to play a gym game called Pirates of the Caribbean, which, from how it was explained to me in the message, is a game where there's several of those blue gym mats, and they all have those little plastic bowling pins on them. You would throw dodgeballs at the other ships to knock off the bowling pins, and then I would assume that the last ship standing wins. I apologize if I got some details wrong, I'm just working with what I have. But to be honest, it does sound like a really fun game. The subscriber said it was one of his favorites, and honestly, I can see why people will get hyped about it. Those gym games in elementary school are just the absolute peak of fun, you know? I got so many great memories playing gym games in elementary school, which feels like forever ago, considering I'm finishing grade 11 in just a couple weeks. Like, to put it in perspective, in just over a year, I will be done high school. I genuinely cannot comprehend that. Like, it's actually pretty scary, I'm not gonna lie to you. Anyway, so Samuel's group for the game ended up being short one person, and Kyle didn't find a group, because of course he didn't. He's Kyle. You see where this is going? So yeah, Kyle ends up joining Samuel's team, and Samuel and his friends decide that, you know what, they're gonna be nice today. They're gonna be nice to Kyle and treat him like a regular person. And honestly, that's what you should have been doing from the beginning. Like, this dude has issues, like, that's for your sake I'm saying that. So, they play the game, they have fun, and gym class is about to end, and as they're about to, walk out of gym class, Kyle decides to attack Samuel's friend out of nowhere. He runs up to one of the friends, grabs him, forcefully slams him against the wall, and puts him in a chokehold to try and strangle him. Now, this is straight up assault. If Kyle was an adult or even a teenager, he'd probably be arrested for this. Obviously, don't ever attack people. It's stupid. It's dangerous. Like, just don't do it. Like, it's stupid. Now, this attack was also completely unprovoked because Samuel and his friends were actually nice to Kyle that day. They weren't trolling him or being mean like they usually were. They were actually being nice to Kyle, yet this was the day that Kyle decides to attack one of them. Makes complete sense. Now, Kyle was not exactly the strongest kid ever, and the dude he happened to be attacking was one of the class clowns in the friend group. He was one of the ones who constantly trolled Kyle, and this dude was ready to fight back, He was ready to defend himself, which I feel like should be kind of a given if someone attacks you completely unprovoked. So Kyle's got the dude in a chokehold against the wall, Samuel's friend is ready to fight back. Everything is set in place for a good old fight. However, before an actual fight could break out, it got separated by, I would assume, the teacher, although I wasn't specifically told who it was. The funny thing is that in the message I got, the subscriber said that it was sad it got broken up because it would have been entertaining, which, to be honest, yeah, sometimes it could be entertaining, I'm not gonna lie. Although the times it's entertaining are the times where both people want to fight, they're both, super into it, but, the only times it's entertaining are, where both people actually want to fight. There's other times where, maybe someone doesn't want to fight, they're defending themselves, and if that's the case, it's just kind of scary to watch. You feel bad for the people who doesn't want to be in it. It's just, it's only entertaining when both people actually want to be in the fight. Anyways, I'm getting off topic, but the point is the fight got separated before it could actually become a fight. So that ends the 5th grade chapter of the story, and fast forward to 6th grade, which is where the subscriber is currently, and Kyle has actually gotten a lot better. He apparently regularly goes to therapy, which I'm kind of surprised he didn't do sooner. I mean, when this kid's getting so mad over math questions to the point where he's hitting himself and attacking people in phys ed for next to no reason, you would have thought he would have gotten therapy a lot sooner, but whatever, better late than never, I guess. Apparently nowadays, Kyle is just your average weird kid, no more temper tantrums or anything, which is good. Anyways, thank you so much to the subscriber for sending this in. I really, really appreciate it. If you want to listen to another story sort of similar to this, on screen right now is the story of some kids at a summer camp who decided to start a mafia and rob other cabins.